Ireland is a land that has it all. Incredible scenery with miles of open spaces that are crisscrossed with ancient tracks and remote wild trails. It's a walker's paradise. It's a land of history, folklore and legends that date back thousands of years, the remains of which are still here in the landscape to be seen and experienced by all. From early monastic settlements to remote scholarly islands, from ancient stone circles to pre-Christian communities. It's a land of writers, musicians and poets, from the wild Atlantic Way to wild landscapes, from the coastal villages and towns that resonate with music and song to the quiet, peaceful trails in the mountain and lakeside areas. Ireland has it all.
Much of my life is spent reporting on the world around us. So when I get a chance, I like to get away and simply appreciate it. Walking is a great way to do this for me. I get time to think, relax, and just walk. This weekend I'm heading to Waterford, a county that has a lot packed into a small space, from serious mountain hikes to coastal walks. My name is Nicola Tallant, and this is my Tracks and Trails. Living and working in the city, I appreciate space and tranquility. I like to get into parts of Ireland that are quiet and spacious, the opposite of city life. Not only is Waterford spacious and scenic, but it's also interesting and steeped in old history. Parts of the county date back to the Iron Age, while some of the towns and Waterford city itself date back to the Viking Age. Over the years, it's been home to many settlers, and castles such as Dungarvan Castle keep the stories of the past alive. I'm spending 2 days here and walking 2 totally different routes. The first is a mountain route through the Comeragh Mountains. This is a 10-kilometre loop. It's nicely challenging and has some steep hills and wild trails. The second is a more relaxing walk at 7.5 kilometres of level gravel trail that traverses the cliffs of Dunmore East. I'm starting my walk deep in Waterford's countryside in the Comeragh Mountains. This is rich walking country and attracts walkers from all over Ireland. There's a walking festival here every year, and there's even a dedicated walking and hiking centre. There are 12 peaks to the Comeragh Mountains. Today I'm doing a route called the Boolas Loop. It's near the village of Rathgormack. It's a glacial area, and the loop winds through interesting glacial formations that also house lakes that are popular with wild swimmers. This is the start of the Boolas Loop. It's 9 kilometres and it's a proper mountain walk, so I need all the gear. I have my boots, I have a bag with my water. Weather is changeable around these parts, so I have waterproof trousers and a waterproof jacket. And I've been looking forward to this walk for a long time, so I'm going to get going because it's going to take me about 4 hours. The start of my walk takes me through a short stretch of woodland and farmland that leads towards the mountains. This is a route where I need to be properly prepared. The weather can change quickly on these mountains, and if the mist comes in and the clouds come down, I need to know where I'm going. I've also told people where I am. I have the right walking gear and a map. Once I get to the base of the Boolas Loop, the trail can be hard to see. This is a wild trail, but it's well waymarked, and you do need to keep an eye out for the markers. This is where the loop begins, and it's 7 kilometres. You can go this way and around, or that way, and that's the way I'm going to go. Now, there's a little bit of rain, but the sky looks clearer up ahead, and the weather forecast is actually quite good. So look, we can always expect a little bit of it. The Comeraghs are dramatic. The weather changes here quickly. And it's not only the weather that changes, the landscape is equally as dramatic. From lush farmland to wild, overgrown, fern-covered trails. It has its own story to tell. Do you know, there's actually parts of this trail where it's so overgrown, it's actually difficult to even follow the path and you could easily stray off. So it's important to keep an eye on the markers, and they're every 200 metres or so. So this bit of the ascent is definitely tough. You're grabbing things and hoping you don't lose your footing on the wet ground, but I guarantee you that the views are going to be worth it. This is by far the steepest part of the mountain, and it's pretty hard going. The heather is beautiful, there's every different colour of pink and purple in it. But I'm hoping this is going to be worth it, and the views are just starting to open out. So another little bit, and I think it's going to be absolutely spectacular. Whew. Now this is what that climb was all about. This is absolutely spectacular. It's like standing on top of the world. Absolutely beautiful and so worth the climb and the little bit of drag there at the end. There's just something really special about getting up this high and looking down over that beautiful Suir Valley. It's so quiet, there's just the stream and the sheep in the distance, and it just feels as if I'm above it all and I've left all the troubles down below. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm meeting Michael O'Donoghue. He walks regularly in the Comeraghs and knows the history and the points of interest in this place. And thanks for coming.
How are you? Welcome to the Comeraghs.
Yeah, it's some climb already, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Beautiful though. Come on, we'll keep walking,
Keep
because
going,
if we
yeah.
don't, if I stop, that'll be me. So Michael, this is the Boolas Loop. Like, where did that name come from?
The name comes from Boola, a name given by the local people to the 4 small ribbon lakes in the valley that we just passed. And the Boolas is the longest combe in the Comeraghs, a kilometre long. It has the highest lake, and the name comes from the townland Boolas Loop, which means stony herding place.
Okay, but what's a combe?
Combe, or calm in Gaelic, means marshy hollow, and it's the name used in glaciology to describe the great holes punched into the mountains over thousands and thousands of years by small mountain glaciers. And the Comeraghs, we're lucky here in the Comeraghs that we have 15 of these combes. And the central plateau, for example, has 10 combes, 6 of them with lakes, which makes for great walking and makes it one of the most glaciated pieces of real estate, I suppose, in the country. This walk here, for example, is a proper mountain walk.
Yeah.
You want to have your stuff and your gear, and you want to know what you're doing.
You definitely need the boots, don't you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You want everything.
No glamour now.
No glamour.
Huh?
No, definitely no glamour.
No.
It's not too hard, it's
Yeah,
not too
no,
high.
it's definitely not hard.
And yet it's definitely in the mountains.
Yeah.
We very much have the feel of being in the mountains.
It could be a kind of like a beginner.
It could, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're heading on towards Knockanaffron Ridge, which again, Knockanaffron, place name, means the hill of the Mass. Knockanaffron, the hill of the Mass, and there was actually.
What, everyone came all the way up here for Mass?
Yes, there's an authentic, what's believed to be an authentic Mass rock. Right, Nicola,
yeah.
we're approaching the head of the gap. It separates, for example, Knockanaffron Ridge on this side to the north from the Comeragh Plateau to the south, and it also separates the Nair Valley to the west from Rathgormack to the east. An old Boherina circular, or funeral path, passes this way and has passed this way for hundreds of years. Some parts of mountain areas were cut off from the consecrated ground in the parish church in the past, so when that happened, when someone died, the corpse was carried across the mountain to be buried in the parish church. Now, there's a townland on the other side of the gap here called Curraheen, and it's been part of Rathgormack parish for a long time. And There was no church in the Nair until the 1850s. So when someone died in Curraheen, the tradition was to carry the corpse across the mountain, down the path here, and into Rathgormack to be buried in the churchyard. And an interesting feature of the funeral path was what's called in Irish an tionlacan, which means the accompanying. So people from Rathgormack would walk up to this point here at the head of the gap and meet the funeral cortege, the Nair people, and they'd head on down to the churchyard below.
And how long did it take them to get from there to there?
I mean, you'll walk it in 3 hours. Obviously, when you see some of the rocky path further down now, you won't walk that, and you're carrying a corpse, remember. Now, they would have obviously pallbearers. They'd have many people to exchange carrying the wooden plank on which the corpse would be. A local historian has told me that, to his knowledge, there was one, the last one, in his opinion, occurred around 1930. That's what, 80 years, 70 years after the church. So the tradition was still there. Some families still got buried below in Rathgormack churchyard. Right, Nicola, this is where I'm leaving you. I'm heading down this way along the funeral path, and this is your trip down. Follow the way markers. It's about 2 kilometres to the bottom of the path.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Michael. Really enjoyed all the stories.
You're
Nice to meet you.
Bye, Nicola.
Bye.
Enjoy
Bye-bye.
the rest of your walk.
The walk descends again, and quite quickly too, and the ground constantly changes underfoot.
It's kind of slippy coming down, but it's nice coming downhill too, because of course each step is closer to the end.
The Boolas Loop is, as the name suggests, a loop. This closes at the base of the mountain at the 7-kilometre mark, and it's the same trail back to the car park.
So I'm finally at the end of this walk, and it's been a really good 9 kilometres. The terrain has been tough at times. There's been a lot of uphill. It's been a bit difficult underfoot, but it's been very rewarding for the views. And of course, it's great meeting members of the local community like Michael. The weather's been varied, but that's what it is. And at the end of the day, you come out of one of these walks, you finish one of these walks, and there's a sense of satisfaction. It's been worth it for the challenge, for the views, and for that feeling of accomplishment.
If you enjoy the show, follow us on social and tell us your story. We'd love to hear about your tracks and trails, especially if it's influenced you in any way. Has it got you out walking? What were the benefits? Your feedback could inspire our next show.